I'm Sam with the Frugal Hugel Gardener, and I'm here today in DeLand, Florida with Lonnie of the Reid farm.
Hi everyone. Hi Sam. Well, what we do here, we were talking earlier a little bit about how we garden differently, that you do a lot of annual and seed grown stuff, and I'm way different than that. I'll do that more in the winter time when it's cruciferous time for all my brassicas and things like that. But in the summer, so many people are shutting their gardens down that everyone's saying let the soil rest and just chill, don't wait, nothing grows. And I don't want to live like that. I want to eat. I want to eat out of my garden 12 months out of the year. I don't want to have to shut everything down and wait. So my wife said to me, actually, when we first moved here and we were growing all the winter greens, she's like, I want salad in the summer. Why can't we have these big beautiful salads in the summer too? And so that was like a mission. She's like, figure that out. So that's this. That's a lot of what we found. And I actually have this one platform set up just for that.
Okay, so how about we go around and you could kind of show the different varieties that are in season right now. That way everybody knows what's available.
Sure.
Now you're open to the public?
Yeah, just message the Reid Farm page on Facebook. Or we've got ads up on the marketplace, we've got ads up on Craigslist. It adds up all over. I'm really just trying to get this knowledge and information out, because food's slowly but surely trickling away and getting a little hard to find. Things are disappearing from the supermarket shelves. You know, just one item at a time. You can't pull everything at once. That'll incite panic. All right, so here we've got rabbit eye blueberries. This is particularly good for Florida, for our climate. What we see a lot, Florida especially, since our climate's so difficult, our soil's so difficult, is we're so hot most of the year. We need certain varieties of plants. You know, everyone says I'd love to have a peach tree. If you get the wrong peach tree, you'll never fruit. It'll grow. I had one here that someone had brought me years ago, and I planted it and never looked at what variety it was or the chill hours or any of that, and it sat there for a couple of years, and I'm thinking, why am I not getting fruit? And then I looked at it, looked up what it was, and found out that it's more for up north, and I happen to have some friends in West Virginia, so I pulled it out, brought it up there, and they planted it.
Now, Lonnie, what would be the difference of people coming to a locally private farm, a nursery, to get their shrubbery versus a big box store?
What I've noticed on all the larger nurseries, the big box stores, is they're going to sell it as it comes off the truck. If it's in good condition when it comes off the truck, they're going to put it on the shelf. That's what it's going to look like until it starts to go downhill. And then it goes downhill and it goes on the bargain rack. They don't care. They're not going to take care of it. They're not going to try and prune it. They're not going to pull, a couple leaves. No one's doing that. No one's going to waste their time. Here, I'm smaller. I want my plants beautiful. I want them thriving. I want them fruiting if possible when people buy them. There's a fig over there. It's got a bunch of fruits on it. That's how I want everything to look, and you're not going to get that. You're not going to get the same care.
So at your nursery over here, do you feel that everything that you have at the time of the year is going to be just healthier?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I'm caring for it. And most of what I'm selling, like majority of what I'm selling, is stuff that I grow here. I propagate a lot of it. So it's not just the difference of buying from a box store versus a local nursery. I'm growing the stuff right here, so I know it does well in our climate. I'm producing, it's regular food sources for us.
See, now I feel the same way. When I go to purchase any kind of fruit or vegetable, plants or shrubbery, I go ahead and look for a local nursery, especially an independent private person. They all word of mouth, so they're going to take better care of their plants. Plus, I have the satisfaction of knowing that you're supporting a local family versus a big box store.
Especially now, with so many people out of work, and my job's done, shut down. I haven't worked since March, so this is full time. It's working. It's great. People are all over it. They're loving it.
So let's go down the line, and you could describe.
Well, this is a big focus for us. This is what a lot of people have struggled with, especially with the cruciferous family. Everyone likes to grow kale and collards and bok choy and tatsoi and all these. There's all kinds of different greens, and they're awesome. But they're only in the cold weather. As soon as it gets hot, they bolt, stop producing leaves. They produce flower and seed.
And we're over here right now in D-Land, Florida. We're in July, and the temperatures are in the upper 90s right now.
Yeah, it's been brutal. But there's plants that love it and have no problem. This right here, this is moringa. I don't know if you know anything about moringa, but it is rumored to be, and the science just about guarantees that it is the most nutrient-dense plant on the planet. It's used for so many different things. A lot of people will use it. They'll powder it, encapsulize it, and just take the pills because it's easier to just get a bunch of it down that way. We eat it in salad. I'll just, straight eat the leaves. A lot of people make tea with it. But it is such an amazing plant. You can lop this off right here and it'll just start growing. They grow really fast. They're heavy producers. There's actually a compound that is found in the cruciferous family. It's called sulforaphane. It's one of the reasons that people say that kale is so good for you. Eat all your kale and your bok choy and mustard. And there's a bit of science behind that, where to create sulforaphane, it's not in the plant. It actually is created in your body. But you need the compound, you need the glucoraphanin is actually what's in it. And then there's an enzyme called myrosinase. The myrosinase is released when you crush, cut, chew, or damage the leaf. So aside from the cruciferous family, which is where you get your sulforaphane, it's one of the best antioxidants, cancer fighters, disease fighters. This is the other source, is the moringa. So aside from its just nutrient density, vitamins, minerals, it also happens to be a sulforaphane producer.
What size should the plant get? Full grown?
They'll get gigantic. We have one in the back that got to 20 feet tall, and you can just clean cut it off. The trunk is 4 or 5 inches thick back there, and I can clean cut it right off, and it will just sprout. Once they're established, they're virtually unkillable.
Excellent.
And just heavy producers, you'll eat year round. They never stop.
Excellent.
It has never stopped producing. The cousin to the moringa is the katuk. Katuk happens to be delicious. The moringa has some bite to it. The katuk has more like a nutty flavor, and this is your iron load right here. I believe it was 9 times the iron as your standard spinach, like your Bloomsburg or the spinach you see in the store. This stuff is also super nutrient dense. It's delicious. I'll make a salad with a lot of katuk in it, mostly katuk. I just happen to love it. And it'll produce these little flowers underneath these stems or these branches that will turn into like a little green fruit, and it tastes like a pea, looks like a pea. They're delicious. The whole plant's edible, like can't lose with katuk. Easily propagated. Once you get it established and get big, you can take cuttings off it, stick them in the ground right next to it, and end up with like this little patch forest of katuk.
So I have to ask, is your nursery 100% edible?
Like 99%.
99?
I have a couple of plants that are just really cool that some people like to have around, like my heliconia is just the flower. The inflorescence is gorgeous. So I saw it one day, I had to have it, and other people like having it.
And how about, are you 100% organic?
Oh yeah, we're clean. I spray neem oil, BT, if I need it, but I don't grow a lot of the stuff that needs that.
So that's probably another good reason to come and purchase plants off of you, because the big box stores, they use chemical.
Neonicotinoids, yeah, it's nasty. A lot of that stuff.
That in itself is an excellent reason.
Yeah, sure. I'm glad you brought that up, actually. I don't have to use, you see, there's a little bug damage here, like on this cranberry hibiscus, maybe a grasshopper might have chewed on or something. But for the most part, if you look through all this stuff, there's no bug damage. I don't deal with bugs on these plants. These are perennials that never die. They just keep producing, and they're bug resistant. They're hardy plants. So that's another reason. They're like plug and play plants. Put them in the ground. Once they're established, just get out of the way and eat. Just keep eating year round. This is another awesome one, Ibeca. This is the Bailey variety, also called Big V. It's salad tree is another term. Some people may have heard of Chief Kubo's South Sea salad trees and the Kiko's crump salad trees. They're all varieties of this. very mild flavor, also great nutrient density. It's got some protein in the leaf, really mild, great salad filler because the leaves will get really big. Now that's just a baby right now, but these leaves will get big, monstrous like that. And again, an awesome plant to propagate. This one, for instance, I had just the other day realized how tall this was and it was going to fall over. So I knocked it off right there and I took the top and I stuck it in the ground. That wilted for one day. It's already back up and ready to go.
Fantastic.
It's like 4 days ago, 3 days ago I did that. That's how fast they root. This is the kind of stuff that everyone needs to be growing. Like every single yard in the state of Florida needs to be growing these things because they'll never die. I have not managed to kill a salad tree. I haven't killed a katook. I have killed a couple moringas, but that was quite a while ago and they were just sitting in sand. But these things are unkillable. Cranberry hibiscus grows in the shade. So if you've got some spots that are not very good for growing your regular vegetables, throw this stuff in. These will get big. You can lop them off and bush them out. They have like a sour flavor to them. And like all the hibiscus families, they're rich in anthocyanins, which is really good for blood vessel dilation. So cranberry hibiscus is a great plant.
Now you're saying cranberry. Are you going to be eating the leaves or are they going to have cranberries?
This is just a leaf producer right there. It happens to be beautiful. They'll produce these really nice purplish, whitish flowers. It's got like a lemony flavor to it. I love this stuff. My son will come outside and say, I'm going to go get some sour leaf, and he'll grab some. Great salad additive. You won't kill it. It will reseed. It will drop tons of seed. You'll get a million of them. So this one is also a must-have. The other one, Roselle, there's a couple of them around here somewhere. The Roselle will create those bigger calyxes where they you can make. We've actually got 6 gallons of wine that we made from last year's harvest off of that. The leaves happen to be really delicious, but the calyx is like this big fruit. It's also called Florida cranberry.
So you're making wine out of some of your...
Oh, sure.
Very nice.
Yeah, because my wife likes some dark reds, and grapes, one of the heaviest sprayed things.
Well, you know you have a liquor store up the street, so why are you making your own wine?
Because it's clean. The sugar, you got to make wine with sugar. That's how you ferment. Sugar, if you've done any research at all on big sugar in South Florida, aside from destroying the environment, it's pounded with pesticides and herbicides, keeping weeds out of the way. And
so where are you getting your sugar?
Organic sugar. We're buying organic sugar.
Okay.
I have some sugarcane syrup that some friends of ours brought us. So we're going to do a batch of wine with that stuff.
Fantastic.
So then there's sisu spinach, another one. Unkillable, delicious, almost no flavor to it. Got a nice crunch, good texture. Love this stuff. I was just introduced to this recently. A friend of ours brought us a branch of it, and I propagated a whole bunch of them. Now I have them available. Longevity spinach, Okinawan spinach, also very difficult to kill. This is longevity. This is Okinawa underneath. Their leaves are purple. Just easy plants, easily propagated. Snip the top off, stick it in the ground.
Well, I know the longevity. I got some at my farm, and they get really full.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you have these plants going, you can just walk out to your garden and pick a little bit off each one. We get a bowl, take like a salad bowl out there, and just get a good handful of each plant. And you just, as you're walking around this place, there's so much edible stuff. And there's weeds that we eat here. The Biden's alba is got all kinds of medicinal and nutritional benefits, and that stuff is everywhere. No one even realizes. No one even knows. They don't even look at it. It's on the side of the road. I mean, everything you see out here, all these weeds, in the neighbor's property, up here in the front of mine, it's all Biden's alba. And it is all edible. It's delicious. We throw tons of that in our salads.
So these 2 spinach plants will give you spinach, or almost like a salad spinach, throughout the whole season.
Through the whole year.
Through the whole year.
Yeah. They'll slow down a little bit here and there. Season changes. But while they're doing that, some of the other ones are picking up the slack for them. The salad trees never stop.
So when they get big and bushy, you're just picking off individual leaves?
What I generally do is snip the tops. I'll take off like that much, top 2 inches or so, get a good head of leaves, all the new fresh growth, and I'll just take those and throw those all in the salad and chop them up. I pile it all together, wash everything, dump it all down on a cutting board, and just chop, 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 chop in a big grid pattern into like 1-inch squares, and then it all goes in the salad bowl, and we've got an awesome salad.
Let's do it.
All right, so on to the next palette here. What we've got, this is Nepali cactus. This is a spineless variety. Usually you'll see these little nasty little spikes, and you run by them and they just get in you, and they get in your fingertips. They're really tiny. This one doesn't have any of those, so it's much easier to work with. You can just break the pads off and cook them, slice them up, cook them. Using a lot of Mexican cuisine. If I remember right, these are real rich in vitamin C. But they have a pretty bland flavor, so it's easy to flavor it with just about anything you want. Slice them thin, throw them in a frying pan, toss them around. They're pretty nice. But heavy producers. And they'll actually make a beautiful flower and a prickly pear, cactus pear, that I almost had them this year, and they didn't pollinate and the flowers fell off. But the patch of pads is just gigantic. Once they get started, they're very prolific and really easy to propagate. Once you have one piece, one going, like you take these right here, snap these off and just shove them in the ground. They root, they regrow, and great producer and effortless, completely effortless. Next to it is dragon fruit, which are these tall, thin cactuses. You send these straight up and get them to about 6 feet high, top them, and they start making all these other shoots that'll start to come off, and that's when they start to produce the flowers and fruit. But they got to get big and mature. This one's well on its way, looking really nice.
Now, what variety is that?
This is a red-fleshed one. I don't know the exact variety. This was actually given to me years ago, and I've just propagated and propagated and propagated. It's so easy to propagate. But it is a red-fleshed dragon fruit. Then we've got our Pakistani mulberry. These are the mulberries that have the big, long berries on them that are just, for me, it's more fruit, more punch per tree. So I really like the Pakistani. I've got a few of them planted. They grow really fast. The leaves we're using for animal feed. We feed them to the rabbits. They love them. Again, really difficult to kill once they get established, and you can take cuttings and make new plants, and just easy plant to grow, and lots of fruit. You make jam, you make wine, you make all kinds of stuff. They never make it inside. We just go to the tree and clean the tree off, and that's that. Then we've got sherbet berries, also called falsa berry. Just a kind of a funky little berry, not real popular, but grows well in Florida. Has a nice cooling effect on the mouth when you eat them. This is gin berry, and the name absolutely just nails it. They taste just like gin. I've got a big tall cane in the back that might have a couple berries on it. You might be able to taste. Just kind of a nice little grazer while I'm walking through the garden and doing stuff. I'll just pluck a few berries, and they're nice to chew on. Then I've got elderberry, just some little ones started up here. Everyone's wild about elderberry, making syrup from it because it's supposed to be great for the immune system. Then we've got a bunch of Natchez blackberries, which are thornless variety. They should get real tall, big long canes and lean over, so they like a trellis. But they're growing really quickly. I've got a whole lot of those. I just got a whole bunch of tissue cultures and brought them up. Then we get to one of my favorites, my bananas. I love growing bananas. As we get around here, I'll show you all the racks that we've got. We've just got bananas hanging everywhere. These are Grand Nain. This is the variety that you'll find in the grocery store. Most commonly Chiquita. This is the ones they use. I keep pulling the leaves constantly. I always want to keep pushing my growth up. So I don't want to let too much hang down here. I want to just force it to keep producing.
Now, how do they produce in Florida?
Oh, bananas? They love it here. Bananas do so well here. There's a big rack of bananas hanging there. I've got one there. There's bananas all over the place here.
We'll get around and do a tour of the bananas in a bit.
For sure. Then I've got dwarf green bananas. This is a little bit different variety. It'll be a wider leaf, a little more wind resistant. The leaves are supposed to be a little tougher, and they're actually, if you feel them compared to the Grand Nains, they're pretty papery. They're pretty, dense, thick, and it'll be an orange fleshed banana. So the banana varieties are, I mean, in the hundreds, potentially thousands. I don't even know. There's so many varieties of bananas. So here we've got the Goldfinger banana. I've sold a ton of these recently. This is actually one of the ones that is developed. There's a few of them. FHIA is the Honduras Foundation for Agricultural Research or Agricultural Investigation. It's when they named it, they did it in other language, so everything is kind of different. But this one is FHIA 1. Then there's the Mona Lisa FHIA 2 and the Sweetheart FHIA 3. They're specifically bred to produce food, disease resistance, be cold hardy, everything you want in a banana. So if you're looking for an easier to grow banana, Sweetheart, Mona Lisa, Goldfinger, really good.
I heard that the Goldfinger is like one of the best tasting bananas.
It's I haven't tasted it yet. I've got Sweetheart right there. That's the FHIA 3, and I imagine they're all going to be fairly similar in flavor. I'm excited for these. I have a lot of them planted. These are actually Goldfingers too, off some bigger ones that I have in the backyard. That I expect fruit off the one in the backyard pretty quick. These might even fruit in the pot if I can feed them well enough.
We're living in Florida, and I feel personally that every household, every property should at least have 1 or 2 banana trees. They look tropical and they taste delicious.
We'll get back there to the big banana area, and yeah, I mean, I agree. Bananas are the way to go. It's so easy. I planted that bunch up there by the curb when do we do that? Last April or May, I think. And that's a plantain in the front, and there's like we said, the Sweetheart in the back. The Sweetheart was a tissue culture just like this, came from the same lab, the same place. A friend of mine got a bunch of them, and he gave me one, and it was about maybe just a little bit bigger than that when I put it in last year. And right now it's fully mature with fruit that should be ready to harvest anytime. I would guess in the next month.
Now you just touched on a topic, tissue culture.
Yeah.
What is the benefit of you growing plants that started out with tissue culture?
One thing is I know exactly the variety that I have. There's no guessing. It's not, Bill's uncle gave Sharon 2 of these, and then I got a pup, and who knows what it is. I have a bunch of bananas like that. Majority of them, I got lucky. They're all Orinoco. They're all the same. They came from the same place. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of variety mix-ups, and you'll see people selling bananas all over the place that say banana trees for sale. And they have no clue what you're getting. It could be a basjoo, which is going to give you tiny little inedible fruit. There's so many different varieties that people get disappointed with. So definitely know your varieties is really nice. I like knowing what I'm growing. I mean, all banana trees for the most part, except for a couple like the basjoo, and they're all going to give you some pretty delicious fruit. The difference is that one fruited in 9-10 months. So I've got that Kandarian is huge, but next to it is the praying hands, and I've harvested 4 or 5 bunches off the praying hands between a couple of trees, and I got them at the exact same time, and they also were all little tissue cultures. They started out this big, but when you get them like that, you can control their environment, and it's a really nice way to develop your mat. That's what a banana tree, once it really gets developed, they're not actually trees, they're just stalks. It's just a big series of leaves. The plant is underground. The mat is the plant. So you start, you know exactly what you've got. You start, you can grow it and build it. The bigger that mat gets, the more roots it shoots out, the more nutrients it can take in, the more banana trees it can produce, the more fruit you're going to get. I have one, an Orinoco, way in the back. It's the first one I planted when we got here. And that one now has lots and lots and lots of fruits. And I know people will say, only keep one fruiting tree on a bunch at a time. I don't agree with that, because if you have a much bigger area full of bananas, if you just give them enough food, they're all going to produce. Last year I got 3 big, giant, heavy racks of bananas off the exact same cluster. And it all started from one original plant.
Fantastic.
So feed them heavy and they'll do fine. Lots of rabbit poop. We have lots of rabbit manure because we have 30, 40 rabbits. that's a big part of our success is rabbit manure. The way we plant banana trees and fruit trees in particular, I've done really well just because of the method that I use for planting, which we should probably do a video on that, on how we do that, because that has been, I mean, the proof's in the pudding right there. That's the fastest I've gotten a banana tree to produce. So yeah, bananas is a staple crop for me. I want as many as I can. Right now we grow 11 varieties and more coming, lots more coming. I've got a few on my radar.
Sounds good.
I need to find. So we got a whole bunch of jackfruit trees that me and my son planted, and he actually wanted to make some money. So I said, buddy, I just sprouted like 80 jackfruit seeds. So how about you plant them all and you pot them up, and I'll split the money with you. So that's what we did. Had him out here. He filled the pots. He planted, took all the individual sprouted seedlings, and they were itty bitty. And he did all this. He's so good at it. He's learned to be really delicate and careful with the roots, and he puts soil in. I mean, they look good. They're growing great.
And these are available right now?
Right now, lots of them. And we were selling them for $5 each because I have a million of them. And I don't know if you've ever eaten a jackfruit. It's people compare it to juicy fruit gum, and it is pretty flavorful, very, very loud flavor. I think they're awesome. The texture's great. It's really dense texture. I'm a big fan. That's why I started growing them. I just wanted one, and then it turned into, I mean, I have a pile here, a whole pile back there in the nursery growing out. Yeah, definitely loving my jackfruit. Then,
okay, that's good.
We've got, this is where I get into my more little obscure stuff. This is Boniato. This is a sweet potato variety that will produce more of a white flesh, nutty flavor with a pink skin. Everyone thinks sweet potato, you think the orange ones, and a lot of people, for whatever reason, don't like them. So grow some other varieties. I've got purple ones available that we grow a whole bunch of. They're Molokai purple, and that's more of a starchier potato. Like, we've done French fries with them, and they're pretty good. We really like the Molokais. Then there's pigeon pea starch, or gandules, real popular in Latin cooking, because I tell you what, Americans don't know how to eat. You want to learn how to eat and what to eat, you talk to foreigners, Jamaicans, every Hispanic culture that I have learned anything about their food, they know how to eat. They eat right. They're balanced of food. They eat fruits, vegetables. They eat lots of the right grains, whole grains. Like, they know how to eat. Follow the Hispanic culture, the Jamaican cultures of their foods, Mediterranean diet. That's where the healthy food is. America is a mess on food. We need to be growing the stuff that they grow in these, we call them third world countries. They're the healthiest people in the world. This is one of the easiest plants to grow. You can use it as a chop and drop. It will produce so many pods. It's amazing how big these get. You grow it from a seed.
And what is the name?
It's called pigeon pea, or gandules. They're it's such a great, it's a nutrient-rich leaf. Actually, we were feeding this to the rabbits. They'll grow big, and you'll get like 4 or 5 years out of each tree. And when I say heavy producer, you will not believe. I'm just getting started again. We had a big one in the back that gave us a ton of pods, and they're delicious too. So great staple crop. Everyone should have a bunch of those cooking right next to their banana trees. Papayas, acquired taste. A lot of people don't like them. They happen to be really good for digestion. They're heavy producers. They produce quickly. That's something people don't want to wait 3, 4, 5 years sometimes. Like for the peach trees, you got to get them established. You got to build your scaffold, and it takes a little while. The results, the reward is definitely worth it, but people are impatient. They want food. These will produce in like a year, generally from seeding, sometimes even faster. Like that tree will be 10 times that size in a year with fruit all over it. Papaya is really nice, quick fruit to grow. These are pineapples. This is a white jade pineapple. It's a spineless variety. The leaves are actually quite nice to touch. They're soft, they feel nice. and the flavor is supposed to be out of this world. I haven't tasted it yet, but we do have about 15 of them in the ground. So we'll hopefully have those in the next year or two. Then here's a real interesting one. You were quite interested in this. We're going to do a bit more on this. This is the Tithonia diversifolia, the Mexican sunflower. That is one of our major fertilizers that we use. Grown from cuttings. You can see the cuttings. I just took a big chunk of stem and stick it in the dirt. They root, they grow very easily. Very high nitrogen, a little bit of phosphorus, real good amount of potassium. You just chop it and drop it. Pick your tree that you want to enrich and chop all of it off. The more you cut, the more they grow.
And what is the purpose of chopping it and dropping it?
It's fertilizer. This is literally fertilizer. You just snap it off and it will grow back. I mean, you can be rough with them. I'll do this to feed the rabbits. I'll go out and grab a big handful, snap them off, take them in. So you take something like that, come over here to these banana trees, and you just take crushed up. That's it, I just fertilized. It's such an easy plant, and they get so big. I've got big clusters of them, some out here, some in the back. I mean, they're all over. Very easy to grow, very easy to propagate, and just an awesome, awesome plant to have. Everyone needs to have that to feed all their food. And they're, you know, if you have animals, great animal feed.
And by having a plant or two of those around, it would save you a ton of money on going to the store to get fertilizers.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Once you get enough of it going, and you can, if you don't ever want to chop and drop it, if you just want to enrich an area, just grow a whole bunch of it. You can see what happens. The leaves brown out and they drop to the ground. They don't lose their nutrient value when they brown out. They just drop to the ground and enrich. So if you just have a ton of them growing and constantly dropping leaves, you're just going to enrich the entire area. And then when it's time to plant, yank them all out of there and start planting your food. So, you know, that's more of a long-term plan, but why not just grow tons of it?
Now, one large Mexican sunflower, once it's like mature and you chop it, pound-wise, how many pounds of fertilizer you think you get out of that?
Goodness. Probably 10 pounds every 3 or 4 days.
10 pounds every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, it's that
Now,
fast.
10 pounds of fertilizer in the big box stores is probably what, $14, $24?
What is it, like 40 or 50 pound bags, I think, and that's what, 12 bucks, 14 bucks.
So that's a money producing
Oh,
plant.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, big time. It just saves you so much, and you don't have to go to synthetic fertilizer. You can just use this stuff. Synthetics are great. I mean, there's parts of them, some of them that are fine, that have, I look at the breakdown, the actual element breakdown, what they're used, how they're produced. Some of it I don't want to touch. If it's derived from urea, I'm not really interested in it. I don't want it.
So topic is, instead of getting popular brands that are toxic, I don't want to mention any names, grow your own fertilizer, stay organic.
Yeah. And you can even convert it, another way to convert it, feed it to animals. It's super high protein. I believe it was like 36% protein by weight. Our rabbits live on this stuff. They get it every single day. We go out in the evening, you know, when it's cooling down, and we'll collect just a group of things. Banana leaves are water rich, lots of fiber, lots of potassium. The rabbits love banana leaves. So we'll get banana leaves, Mexican sunflowers, some Bidens, just whatever we have around that's growing heavy. And this is always staple crop because it's a good protein source. And our rabbits are big, they're beautiful. Some of them weigh 15 pounds. They maintain their weight really well, and in the heat, they're doing really well because they get so much fresh food, and it's not all dry pellet. So I think it really helps, just that water content, when you're feeding animals, rather than just feeding them a dry pellet. Just like us. I mean, you don't want to eat pelletized, dry food. You want to eat fresh stuff. That's what's better for you.
Hey, that's the way it is in the wild.
That's it. So it's so funny. So many people gave us a lot of flack about feeding greens to rabbits. It seems unimaginable to me. It did at the time, still does. Why would you tell someone you can't feed a rabbit fresh greens. What do they eat? What do animals eat? They eat fresh greens.
Now that's funny. I live on a 2.5 acre farm, just as Lonnie does over here. I have rabbits all over and deer all over. And they try to get at my veggies, but they don't. But all around my yard, I got greens for them to eat. There's no pellets. And the bunnies are very happy.
Yeah, I couldn't believe people were arguing with us, like, oh, you're going to kill the rabbits. Okay, we're going to kill the rabbits, I guess.
Hey, in the wild, that's all they eat is green.
That's what, when we first started raising them. And people were yelling at us, like literally raising their voice, you're going to kill your rabbits. And I think it was about 45 minutes later, we won best of breed. And the rabbits come back in the cages with big piles of greens. Yep. Sweet potato vines, that's a big one in the summertime that we feed, really nutrient rich. We eat them too, the tips. So yeah,
I would think a good test is you have your pellets in the cage and you put your greens in the cage and have your rabbit choose what it wants to eat.
I think one of the best ones is when they're pregnant. When our rabbits are pregnant, a lot of people have said, and earlier when we were first starting to raise rabbits, a lot of people are saying, oh, my rabbit goes off feed. If they go off feed, they're dead. They're done. Nothing you can do. Every time our rabbits are pregnant, the day before they're going to deliver, they go off feed. They won't touch their pellet. They're not interested.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Lonnie over here at Reid's farm also has, or his wife has, Kelly, Reid's Rabbitry, which if you're on the forum, you're on Facebook, you're on his YouTube channel, look for Reid's Rabbitry and you'll get a little familiar with what they raise.
Yeah, we raise English lops. I mean, it's Kelly. It's all her. I'm just the grunt. I just pick this up, put this down. She figured out how to do it. She figured out the feeding schedule, the water indicate. I mean, she does her thing, and the rabbits are gorgeous.
Look it up.
Yeah, they're cool. I mean, we got ears.
REIDS Rabbitry.
Yeah, definitely check out the rabbits. They're really cool. Then we got some ginger. This is the edible ginger. This is the variety you would get, to eat the root. You can see how they grow. It looks similar to bamboo, but that's ginger. And these were tissue cultures, so they're working their way up and getting bigger. But I still have lots of these left. I love ginger. I eat it all the time. If every time my stomach's upset, I grab a big chunk of ginger. If I have any pain anywhere in my body, big chunk of ginger. I talked to a doctor actually a few years ago, and I asked him about ginger. I'm like, what's the deal with ginger? Like, I always hear it's a good painkiller, but how much do you actually have to eat for it to be a painkiller? And we worked out at, I don't remember what the exact numbers were, but it was something like 1.4 grams per dose. And you do that like a couple times a day, which ends up being a nugget of root about like that, like the size of a quarter maybe. And it's strong. You got to get used to it, but it has definitely worked. I have bad back problems from all years of tile work and construction and stuff. And when it gets acting up really bad, I take a nugget of ginger, and it really does help. But it's got to be a big nugget of ginger. It can't be a little toothful. You got to just take it. And but it really does. It does work. Then I got some basil that happened to have popped up in the garden, and we happen to do really well with basil, so I just potted them up, brought them up. Just a nice little spice, great for Italian food. My wife loves to cook Italian, so we use our basil a lot. Here is a great one. This is, I only have 2 of these right now because we eat a lot of them. But this is Roselle hibiscus. Hibiscus sabidorifa. This is the one that people have heard about. This is the one that produces the big calyx. We were talking about the cranberry hibiscus earlier. This is the one. This is the plant. Produces big calyxes. Really cool plant. Grows, if you've heard of red zinger tea, this is where it comes from. The leaves are wonderful, lemony flavor, just like the cranberry hibiscus. Nutritional benefits are amazing. Yeah, please. Snap one.
Just pull?
Yeah, good. There you go. Yeah, this is one of my favorites. I love the flavor of the Roselle. And I don't know.
Right off the plant.
Right.
It actually tastes really good.
Good as it gets. I don't know why, for some reason, me and a few of my friends are having some trouble with them. I had hundreds of plants last year, And I don't know what's happening this year. I have sprouted and sprouted and sprouted, and a few of them have taken, and they get about 6 inches tall, and they're falling over and dying. And I thought it was just me. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but several of my friends actually, same deal. All right, next one we got here, this is chaya, also called Mayan tree spinach. This is a pretty unique one, absolutely unkillable. An 18-wheeler ran over the one up front when they were delivering all these peach trees a couple weeks ago, like literally flattened it to the ground. It's still green as could be, looks fine, looks like nothing happened, and it's laying flat on the ground. I just haven't had a chance to do anything with it. One unique thing about this plant, well, there's a few, but one is it has hydrocyanic acid in it, which is cyanide. So if you eat it raw, it can make you really sick or kill you. So we don't eat this raw. It has to be cooked. 20 minutes. You can put it in a pressure cooker. A friend of mine actually said he loves it in the pressure cooker. Just steams it up, drains the water. But it turns out you can actually use the water. It just has to be cooked to break down the cyanide. So we do 20 minutes of cooking, loaded with vitamin C. Super, super rich in vitamin C. So really good survival food. You won't kill it. It will grow in the nastiest of conditions.
I love my Instapot.
Yeah, me too. We use it all the time. But this will grow in sand. Just not thrive, but it will grow. It will survive. So you have an obscure part of your yard that doesn't grow real well, and you need something that just will produce green. Chaya is a really, really good. It's something worth reading up on and learning about rather than a quick YouTube video. It's definitely something to know about, but it's a survival plant. It's one of those permaculture plants that we all need to have.
He just mentioned if you're growing in sand. Well, in Florida we have a lot of sand, but if you're gonna plant something, it's worthwhile to dig your hole 2 to 3 foot round, put in some good organic topsoil and compost, and plant in it. Your plants will be so much nicer.
Mulch. I put mulch in the bottom. All this decomposed mulch, we'll get into that. I put mulch in the bottom of every hole. Moisture retention. Moisture retention is the key to life growing in Florida. Keeping moisture in your soil, because it's so hot. If it doesn't rain for 2 days, it is so hot it just wrings everything out. Even here, we're in the shade so much, but it just doesn't do it without some good stuff in the soil. This one's called Turk's Cap or Sleeping Hibiscus. This is the pink variety. It produces the pink flower, and the flowers are great for throwing in salads. We actually use them there. It's another, we were talking about anthocyanin earlier, which is a vasodilator to increase blood flow. We had a rabbit, one of our favorite ones, kind of the face of the rabbitry for a long time was Ray Charles. He had a stroke. You could see neurological, he was twitching and his head was turning, and you just watched it happen. And my wife was freaking out. What do we do with Ray? How do we deal with Ray? And we were about to have to put him down because he was looking terrible. And I said, well, hold on. If he's having neurological issues, he's not getting blood flow to his brain, let's try something. And we went and picked, and we actually have the red variety too, and I picked a pile of these flowers, and I put a big pile of them in front of him. And he didn't want to eat anything. As soon as he saw those red flowers, he devoured the entire pile. So we did that. We kept a consistent flow of them right in front of him. He kept eating them, and he slowly but surely righted himself, was able to get up, and was fine. And he lasted another few months, but he wasn't, damaged. He wasn't a mess like you would have thought. I can't imagine any other rabbit making it through that. But these flowers did it. They changed everything for us.
That's fantastic.
So there's medicinal value to so many of these plants that people don't even realize. This is in people's front yards. Not the pink ones. The pink ones are tough to find, but they're so pretty. They also have some nectar in the flower, like in the base of the flower, and the hummingbirds will come in and hit these when they're in bloom. They're not blooming really right now, but when they're full, the hummingbirds are all over them. It's so cool to see. So here we've got some Carolina Reaper peppers. These are actually some culls. You can see they don't actually look right. They look more like the red habanero, which is part of the breed. I'm actually looking for a pepper that looks a little closer to that. I'm growing for a seed supplier. I've actually got a guy that I work with named Marv. Zelajake Farm and Garden is a seed supplier that I use, and he wants me to produce these seeds for him. In order to do that, I have to get the exact right plants, and this isn't it. That's not what a reaper's supposed to look like. So we started with 70 plants, and we've been culling them down and getting rid of the ones that don't have the right look. I promise you, the heat is the same. If they have a bumpy skin and a tail, or they're smooth like this, these all came from the same seeds. They are hot. We make a lot of hot sauce with them. Here's some that have come off the plants or slowly drying out. We make powder. I've got a guy locally that buys all these dried pods from me, and he makes powder and sells it. And,
powdered pepper.
Yep, pepper powder, Carolina Reaper powder. We eat a lot of hot stuff, a lot of spice for the capsaicin, all the benefits of that, increasing blood flow and vasodilation also. Really, really excellent stuff. So capsaicin is a whole nother world to go into when we're talking about nutrition. Here we've got chayote squash. This is another one that I think everyone should be growing. They produce so heavily. They'll usually start producing in like November and December and get you all through the winter. Each vine, like this one vine, you can see it's starting to throw off secondaries, and there's another, and there's another. It will produce and run like 50 feet in each direction. Give it a fence to climb on, give it a tree to hang from, and they'll produce hundreds of squash at a time. You may not know what it is, but you've seen them in the grocery stores. They're usually individually packaged. They have a little bag, and they're in one little flat in the produce section, little green squash. You grow them from the entire fruit. You just set the fruit on the shelf and wait for it to sprout. Very easy to grow. Once you get them established, it's there. Our big vine back there is 3 years old, and we've produced, just hundreds and hundreds of fruits, and they're great. Raw, you can eat them like an apple. You can eat the whole thing. We chop them, we stir fry them, we do all kinds of stuff. Next to it is another one of my very favorite plants. So this is called Tindora, or ivy gourd. What's really wonderful about this plant, it is virtually untouched by bugs. Grows really heavily. I've got a huge plant in the back that I'll show you. It's covered in fruit right now. But the bugs don't really touch it. Occasionally I'll get a boring worm that'll go into the fruits, but it usually produces so much fruit that they can't get to it. It'll look like a little watermelon, but it's only be about this big. They go through flavor changes. The flavor profiles change 3 times as they mature. They start little and they'll taste like a green cucumber. Then as they get bigger, they'll start to ripen from the inside out, and they'll turn orange on the inside. They get a little sour. And then they'll start to turn red at the very tip and start to turn red all the way up the entire fruit, and then they soften and they get a little sweetness to them. So all different things to do. They're very common in Indian cooking. I've had some Indian families come out here and actually picked my vine clean a couple months ago. They were so excited to see Tindoras because it's just not a common thing grown here, but it's a great plant. And there was something about really good for diabetic diet. I don't remember what it was. I read about that a couple of years ago. But Tindora or ivy gourd, easily propagated, grows well, loves the sun, loves the summer, and I've got lots of those available.
Now, Lonnie, I have to ask you, a lot of these vegetables and plants that you've been showing, when I'm at a nursery or when I'm at one of the big box stores, I don't see these varieties. So what's with that?
You're not going to see them. You're not going to find them there. They're not typical. No, who's heard of Tindora? No one's ever heard of Tindora. It's not, most of the stuff, no one's heard of this stuff. It's not common. What I found is the average American food comes from the grocery store, and if it's not in the grocery store, it's weird and I'm not touching it. That's the consensus.
Hey, a lot of people don't know that grocery stores don't grow the food, but that's another topic. So, yeah. So, if anybody wants plants and vegetables that are hard to find,
but easy to grow.
And easy to grow, especially in tropical climate, go ahead on Facebook, on YouTube, do a search for Reid's Farm, and you'll come across what he grows. And if you're already watching this video, you'll know what he grows. We'll put a link down the bottom. We'll put a phone number and an address. Get in contact with them and just call them up and say, hey, do you have this and can you get this if he doesn't already have it? Is that about right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm constantly looking, always looking for new weird plants that grow well here and produce me food.
And taste good. And have protein.
Have carbs, have vitamins, minerals. All these different plants have all different mineral breakdowns. They all, this one's rich in this one's rich in this. So you got to have the variety. They say variety is the spice of life. I mean, variety is necessity.
If you live anywhere, whether it's Florida or across the USA, and you have a yard, you should be growing your own veggies, your own plants. Just take a look at the price of everything in the stores. And if you're not looking at the price, that's okay. Where does it come from? What do they spray on it? Who, nowadays with the virus, who touched it? I'd rather be staying at home and growing mine, eating fresh off the vine, than going to the store.
And the flavor. I mean, compare a fruit from the store compared to what you grew in your yard. We had our nectarine tree in the back is just massive. One of my best accomplishments of growing fruit trees. And my son loved it. Like, he tasted one for the first time this spring, and he's like, Daddy, that is the best fruit I've eaten. I think it's my very favorite one. And then just a month ago, they're done. They last about 2 months and they're gone. And my wife went to the store and brought him with him and said, he's like, ooh, nectarines, let's get some nectarines. She got 4 of them, brought them home. And they tasted like a nectarine, but they're bland. They're very mild flavor. It's not there.
Now, I believe the reason for that is bananas, you get them in the store, they're yellow, but when they pick them, they're solid green. Tomatoes, when they pick them, they're green. When you pick them at home, they're ripe right off the vine. All your veggies could be that way. That is the difference, a major difference in my opinion, is you're getting it fresh off the vine versus almost fresh. They pick them, they box them up, they ship them on semis. About time they get to the store on the shelf, they ripen, but they ripened off of the tree or the vine or the plant, which makes a huge difference.
So why is that making a difference? Because as soon as they cut them, there's no more nutrients going up. They're not developing those sugars. Right at the end, when they're ripening, that's when they're pushing that sugar right into the fruit, the fructose that goes into the fruit. That's when they're pushed. That's when it's all happening. They pull them when they're big enough, but they're not done. They're not mature. That's why people say, tomatoes from the store taste like nothing. They taste like cardboard. They haven't developed their sugars yet.
You nailed it.
The color's there, but taste a banana from the store, taste a banana from my tree. I don't want store bananas anymore. They don't taste good. It tastes like nothing.
We're towards the end of July here in Florida, and for the past few months, I've been going out to the garden in the afternoon and towards the evening, picking what I want, going inside, cooking it up, or just making my salads, just vine ripe. You cannot get that in the stores. Fantastic.
Best. So here we got some fig trees. I got a couple of varieties, celestials and brown turkeys. These actually have a couple of fruits on them right now. Figs it's like the food of the gods. They don't produce, you're not going to live off of figs, but man, when you're talking about flavor and how delicious they are, nothing compares to a fig. Ever since I was a kid, I was like 8 or 9 years old when I had my first one. My grandparents took me to a friend of theirs in the Bronx, believe it or not. Right in the middle of the Bronx, the nasty, smelly Bronx, there was this guy, had a little yard. He had 4 or 5 fig trees in his backyard. They were enormous. They were like 50 feet tall. And I climbed them and ate and ate and ate. I never had anything like it. And I've just been absolutely addicted to figs ever since. And believe it or not, I have that exact clones from that exact tree. I have them here on this farm from the Bronx. My grandma sent them. All right, so now we're at fruit trees. Here I've got a bunch of peaches. I got 4 different varieties of peaches. Florida Kings, Florida Queens, Florida Homes, and Florida Prince. Then I've got a bunch of apples. I got some Einsteimers and some Golden Dorsets. Then I've got 2 varieties of pear. I've got Florida Home and I've got hood pears. Hood pears are not actually self-pollinating. They need a second tree, just like the Florida Home. That's why I got the 2 of them. So I figured we could sell them in pairs. What a lot of people have been planting these trees, and I made the same mistake myself, so I know what it's like. If you don't know, you don't know. So in order to grow a proper stone fruit tree, really all these fruit trees, you want to form them properly. They need a proper scaffold. I've got these Florida Kings right here. The way to do this is to pick your limbs. You got to pick the exact right limbs that are going to be your fruit producing limbs. You want an open center. So what I was told is that you want a bird to be able to fly right through the center of the tree. So 5 limbs, that's the number I shoot for. So I start here at the bottom and look at what's the most mature limb. You got one nice one here, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now you don't have to pick the bottom 5. You pick the ones that are going to put your growth out in the direction so they're not crossing. So I like this one. I like that one. Those are great. 3, 4, and that one right there is completely shooting away. So what I'll do right here, and this is going to hurt people. Let me get this stake out of the way. But I know a lot of people have an issue cutting trees. They're like, oh God, you're really going to do it? You're really going to do it? So
It's actually healthy for the plant.
it's way healthier because what it does is it diverts the energy. Instead of it diverting into all these different pieces, it diverts it only into what you want to grow. And we look at the nectarine in the back, which I did just like this. You'll see this is what happens when you do it right. And so
Right now at home, I got 20 grapevines, and every week I go out there and prune it because I'm training it to go on the cables, the trellises. You topped it off.
I took all of that off. Now, I could have maybe potentially rooted this like with an air graft, but I'm not playing with that today. This is what we want. Now you've got a tree. I don't like that these are that close, so what I might do is take a little stick with a little Y carved into each end and just kind of train them apart a little bit. But that is going to grow into a beautiful tree. As these come out, these limbs are going to get thick. I mean, they're going to get big, and then this will slowly start to come up. The center will stay open. All your cross branches will be taken away. Believe it or not, that's what it's supposed to look like. And you're not even going to see this anymore. It will just kind of disappear into the growth as it grows up. So, if you're looking to shape your trees, that's how you do it. Give or take. Sometimes you skip a branch. Sometimes you get a prettier one. Like you got 2 really pretty ones here and there. This one's small, so it's going to take a bit longer to grow out. But when you're looking at these teeny little branches, just imagine one day they're going to be 15 feet long and 3 inches thick. So choose carefully.